Something happened to you that the world decided not to count. And that decision, that silence, may have hurt you almost as much as the loss itself. You came home from the hospital, or from the ultrasound room, or from wherever it happened. And the world kept moving. Traffic kept moving. Offices kept opening. Feeds kept scrolling. Nobody sent flowers after a miscarriage. Not everyone. Not always. Nobody pulled you aside at work and said, "I know what you are carrying right now." Instead, you were handed a form, or a follow-up appointment, or quiet. And somewhere in that quiet, a terrible message began to form. That what you lost did not count enough to mourn. I want to say something directly to you right now, before anything else in this video. What you lost counted. Completely. Without qualification. Without a gestational age requirement. There is a term in grief psychology for what many people in your position experience. It is called disenfranchised grief, and understanding it might change the way you see your own pain. Disenfranchised grief is grief that society does not fully recognize, validate, or support. It is grief that happens privately, without ritual, without permission, without the structures that help people heal. Funerals exist to say, "This loss mattered." The world pauses. People gather. The grief is witnessed. But pregnancy loss, in most of the world, does not come with that pause. You are expected to process something enormous in private, and then return, functional, to a life that looks unchanged. And when the world does not witness your grief, something dangerous can happen inside you. You begin to wonder if you are allowed to grieve at all. You compare. You minimize. You think others have had it worse. Maybe this was not enough to hurt this much, but here is what. The research actually says, and I want you to hear this clearly. Psychologists at the University of Arizona found that grief after miscarriage produces clinically significant anxiety, depression, and trauma symptoms in a substantial proportion of people. Symptoms that can persist for a year or longer. Symptoms that are real, not dramatic, not excessive. The grief is proportional to the bond, not to the length of the pregnancy. And you bonded the moment you knew. Before the first ultrasound. Before the first kick. You rearranged your interior world for someone who was coming. That rearrangement was real. And when they did not arrive, the interior world had to rearrange itself again. Without any map, without any guide, the APA has noted that the lack of social acknowledgement is itself a risk factor for worse grief outcomes. Meaning, being told your loss doesn't count doesn't just feel bad, it actively makes healing harder. So if you have been told to move on, to try again, to focus on what you still have, please know this. That advice, however well-intentioned, came from a world that does not yet have language for what you lost. It is not a verdict on the size of your grief. It is a reflection of a gap in how society understands loss. Your grief is not too large. The container the world offered you is just too small. Let me tell you something about what disenfranchised grief does to a person over time. It teaches you to carry the loss silently, to not bring it up in conversation, to skip past the anniversary because no one else is marking it, to scroll past pregnancy announcements without letting your face show what your heart does. You become skilled at invisible grief, and invisible grief is exhausting in a way that has no comparison, because you are doing the full work of mourning, while simultaneously managing the world's expectation that you are fine. And here is the part that breaks my heart. The thing I most want to reach through the screen and say, You deserved better. You deserved the pause. You deserve someone to say, "This matters, and so do you." Not everyone got that. And not getting it was not because your loss was small. It was because the world has not yet learned how to hold this kind of grief with the care it deserves. But I want to offer you something the world may not have offered yet. A witness. I am here, right now, saying, I see what happened to you. I see what you lost. I see that it mattered. Your baby was real. Your pregnancy was real. Your love for them was real from the very first moment. And your grief, however long it has lasted, however large it has felt, is real too. You do not need anyone's permission to grieve. You never did. The grief was always valid. The love was always real. The loss was always significant. Some of the hardest moments of disenfranchised grief come at unexpected times. When a colleague announces a pregnancy and the room fills with joy, and you smile and mean it and also feel like you cannot breathe. When your due date comes around and no one mentions it, because no one is counting. When you answer, "I don't have children because..." the full answer is too long and too raw for the moment. These are not signs of weakness. These are the specific textures of a grief the world has not given you space to carry openly, and they are valid. Every single one of them. If you are still carrying this months later, years later, I want you to know something. There is no expiration date on grief for a loss this real. The timeline belongs to you. Not to the people who expected you back at your desk on Monday. Not to the relatives who thought a month was long enough. Not to the culture that does not have a ritual for what you went through. The timeline belongs to you and to the love you carry, which does not follow anyone else's schedule. And here is what I hope changes for you. Starting today or starting slowly in whatever way is right. I hope you give yourself permission to mark the days that matter. The due date, the anniversary, the day you found out, the day everything changed. These days are real. Marking them is not morbid. It is love. It is memory. It is refusing to let the world erase what happened. Your baby existed. They deserve to be remembered. And you deserve to. Be the one who remembers them, openly, without apology. If you have been waiting for someone to say it is okay to still grieve, this is that moment. It is okay. It has always been okay. The grief was never too much. The world's container was just too small. Tonight, if you carry a loss that the world did not count, I am counting it now. I see it. I believe you. And I am so sorry that you have had to carry this with so little support. You are not alone in this invisible grief. There are thousands of people watching this right now who know exactly what you mean. If this video found you at the right moment, share it with one person who needs to hear that their grief is real. And leave a comment below. Tell me about your baby, their name, their due date, the day you found out, because they deserve to be named. And you deserve a space where that naming is welcome. You came into this video carrying something the world handed back to you without the care it deserved. And I hope, even a little, that leaving it feels different than arriving did. Because your grief was always legitimate. Your love was always real. Your baby always mattered. Nothing about the world's silence changed any of those things. Not the colleagues who moved on. Not the relatives who said the wrong thing. Not the healthcare system that sent you home with paperwork instead of compassion. None of that silence was a verdict. It was a gap, a failure of ritual, of language, of understanding. And you deserved so much better than a gap. You deserved witnesses. You deserved time. You deserved the space to fall apart. And be held while you did. If you didn't get that, I am sorry. From the bottom of everything I know about what grief requires. You deserved it. Your baby deserved it. And the love between you. That was always worth counting. It still is. It always will be. No silence can uncreate what was real. You are not invisible. Even when grief has made you feel that way, you are here. You survived something enormous, and you deserve to be seen in that. So be seen. Let someone see you. Let this video be one small beginning of being witnessed. Your love for them was always enough. Even when the world did not know how to say so.